hospital this year celebrates its 21st anniversary, and you are someone who have been in the hospital for more than 2 decades working in this department of cardiology. May I ask you, how do you reflect on your stay in this hospital after having served this institution for so many years?
Sai Ram. Well, your question pushed me down the memory lane, and nostalgic surge of many sweet memories come up, right from uncertainties which surrounded my personal self when I landed here, to the sureties and certainties which I see today 2 decades down the line. Way back in 1993 when I came here, I didn't know, I knew Puttaparthi, but I didn't know where it was. I never come here, didn't know Telugu. People ask me, what prompted you to quit a well-paid job, permanent job, and come over here for a temporary 1-year contract? I said, a madness to work in cardiology, number 1. Number 2, a madness to work in an environment which didn't exist at that point in time in any other hospital in this country. Both of this prompted me, and it will not be out of place if I acknowledge the role which my wife played in making this very tough decision. That's how I landed up here. After landing up here, there was a kind of, I would say, a cultural shock, because herein was a hospital in an almost desertified place, where in the surrounding area there wasn't even a tea shop available, and you had the best of the equipments and the services being provided out to a group of people who possibly couldn't have even dreamt of affording primary medical care of this nature anywhere in this country. So honestly speaking, even as a participant or as a worker in the hospital, as a doctor, I had my own shock to get over it and get into the system. As the work ethics and the work culture of the system started percolating into the system, into me and into others like me who joined with me or after me and who have continued, it was what I later on realized, inner transformation effected by Bhagwan without any personal interaction. He gave you the environment. I would call it the sadhana sthal, a place to do your spiritual practice as part of your work. In today's world, I feel there cannot be a better form of sadhana. You need not go to the forest or sit secluded in some cave or some monastery or somewhere in the mountains. He gave it to you. See, what more luxury can I have? I am in my work spot. During the course of my work, inner transformation is taking place. That is as far as personal growth is concerned. Many people ask me, how did you manage to stay put there for 2 decades? I said, this was that intoxicating wine. It has sustained me this far. Because anywhere else in this country, you don't get this. Now from the patient angle, imagine a patient, okay, coming from nearby area, fine. Somebody coming from as far as Sikkim or Nepal or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or borders of Bihar or UP or West Bengal, he lands up here, and we see the patient and we know what is to be done. Anywhere else we have to find out, okay, what is his paying capacity. Then we have to give him the options. Here, no holds barred. If he belongs to my discipline, if he has a medical condition which my discipline offers, Bhagwan was kind enough to provide to us the state-of-the-art equipments, number 1, for our diagnostic aid. Number 2, whether it was, I am in the cardiology wing, so whether it was the equipments, the catheters, the balloons, the stents which we use, the best the industry has today. Many people had this impression that something which is given free of cost, you have to cut corners. You can't obviously perennially go on charity. Bhagwan proved it otherwise to the world. Today, as we are heading towards the 21st anniversary, we can be proud to state that every day, every moment when we are here, we have His presence with us when we are giving, even today, in spite of His physical absence amidst us, there has not been an even not 1% reduction in the quality of care afforded to the patient. That is the greatest thing. Many people predicted that, okay, fine, now that the physical form of Bhagwan is there, there may be a drastic fall. No such thing happened. We are still today working with the same zeal, with the same enthusiasm, and for us, He is a living presence. We would say that when we joined here in 2 decades, we were one of the few people who occasionally used to go to have His physical darshan. But that was compensated for by all the blessings He showered on us when we were in our field. So we had that, oh, He is there. I think one of the first interactions I had with Him within a few days of my joining, and I think that was that reassurance which He gave, which has held me through all these years. I was new to this place, and there was this custom of everybody going for a morning darshan and an evening darshan. For me, my problem was I had my work, and my conscience was such that I didn't like to leave the work and go for a darshan. That's how I have been brought up from my childhood. I remember having sometimes arguments with my parents. I said, temple and all, first I'll finish my work, then if there is time I'll go to temple. So they all disagreed with me. They said, no, going to temple is important. I said, no, first work. So with this kind of conflict going on in the mind, one day I go and sit in the darshan, and Swami comes and he stands in front of me and he says, he gave a smile, and then he said, look, I am appointed in the hospital. I don't expect you to come to see me every morning and evening. See how I haven't given a letter to him, but the conflict was going on in the mind. I have given you a duty to do in my mission in the hospital. Keep doing it. Your problem and needs, I'll take care. I don't know about others, but as far as speaking for myself is concerned, and my wife is the living testimony for that, she will say that I was the only one, I think, who followed it to the letter till the last. The last 4 or 5 years, it was such that my darshans were restricted hardly 4 or 5 times in a year. Rest of the time I was in the hospital. So much so, at a much later time, once when Bhagwan came to the hospital, he jokingly remarked, this is your ashram. And I think he wasn't wrong, because my whole life revolved around my residence, 2 minutes walk from the hospital and the hospital. Bare minimum, I used to step out of the gates of the hospital. So with that kind of an assurance, I never felt the absence of the physical. Because I used to get the thrill of the physical form once in a while. But His continued presence was there day in and day out when I am working in this hospital, because finally it is His work. We are all ordinary, mere instruments. We feel fortunate that, okay, we were lucky to be selected by Him as instruments. That's all. Now, as regards people say, oh, you have seen all varieties of, yes. Have you any interesting anecdotes? Well, if I starting now, maybe I can continue as a marathon for 2 or 3 days of various incidents at various points in time. But yes, certain incidents which left an indelible impression on your mind, and I think which further strengthened your resolve to continue here in spite of whatever be the odds, if any. One was, I remember, within about a year of my joining, a constable, police constable from somewhere in Warangal. He lands up with his wife and 2 children. One was a daughter about 3.5 years, other was a newborn, maybe hardly 1.5 months. That was the son. Both of them having cardiac problem. I was just a fresher, just trying to get to the feel of the department. So, I brought this to the attention of the then consultant. I said, like this, 2 patients, man has come, 2 children. So, then they were examined, echo was done. The elder one had a relatively, both of them had cardiac defects. The elder one had a relatively lesser serious defect. This younger one had a very, very dangerous defect. Now, the issue was you can't obviously take both of them together. There are certain medical rules. So, they said, okay, better chances are for the elder one, let us first treat her. So, the same was discussed with the family. She was taken up, admitted, catheterization done, surgery done. She had a stormy post-operative course, but by Swami's grace recovered, went home. 3 months post-surgery, usually we call our patients. That time we told this man, you bring your son also, we will see if we can offer. And then he came back. You see, this boy had a condition where the defect was such that the pure blood was going into the lungs and the impure blood was going into the aorta for circulation of the body. It is a rare but very dangerous condition. The surgery for that is also equally technically challenging. And I am proud to state that we took up the case. That boy was about 5 months at that time. We did a catheterization, sent for surgery. That was the first time that kind of a surgery was performed in this hospital in the year 1994. It was a matter of great pride and thrill, and most importantly, when you see the family coming back with a boy now grown up as a strapping young adolescent, the joy is immeasurable. This is one. Later on, this couple, the constable couple, they got a 3rd child. So, I still remember about a couple of years after the surgery, he brought the first 2 children for checkup, and everything was over. When we said, no, both are fine, you can go home. He came with a request, sir, if you don't mind, can you just examine this baby and do an echo? I said, why, what happened? No, we are scared because first 2 had problems, so the 3rd one should not have. By Swami's grace, the 3rd one was perfect. So, they happily went off. That is one of the many. The other one, again, people may say, okay, coincidence and all. I think coincidence is a word of convenience coined in the English literature. I refuse to accept that every such instances where thing takes place to your convenience, you say it as coincidence. I don't think so. That is where you tend to believe that there is some kind of an invisible hand playing behind many of the events which take place with most of us in our lifetime. One evening, I finished the outpatient. I have come to the emergency, this critical care unit where we are currently talking and discussing. A Russian lady is brought in. She has just arrived at the hospital, and in the outpatient department she collapses. She is rushed and brought to this very bed where we are standing now. We examined. She had a condition where her heart rate, the rate of beating of the heart, has got slowed down. She was hardly around 24-25 beats against a normal of anywhere between 70 to 100. And mind you, this lady has travelled all the way from Russia and has come here. This event could have happened anywhere in between and she could have succumbed. She lands up here and then she collapses, then she brought here. We stabilize her, then we ask her. She goes on to tell that she had this problem. She consulted hospitals in Moscow and surrounding areas. Everybody told she needed a pacemaker, but the cost was astronomical. She just couldn't afford. And this lady, about 5 to 6 years prior to that, had come to Puttaparthi and was one of the lucky ones to be selected by Bhagavan for a personal interview. And in the interview, he gave her a medallion, which she has been carrying with her in her purse throughout, which was there, and she showed it to all of us. So then she decided, okay, whatever happens, I am going to go to Puttaparthi. If I can get a pacemaker done there, fine, otherwise I will prefer to die there. With this resolve, she comes here. Imagine all this way traveling from Moscow to Bangalore and then finally coming here, nothing happened. Finally, she collapses in our outpatient. She is stabilized. Next couple of days, needful investigations, everything was done. We put her on a temporary pacemaker. Finally, we put a permanent pacemaker and she goes home. Now, you may say, oh, it's coincidence. Such instances have occurred umpteen number of times. Each time you cannot say that it is coincidence. That is how we, whenever we have our own, we are all after all ordinary mortal human beings. We do have time periods wherein we have our doubts. Most of us have. That is when incidents like this, Swami creates this drama to reinforce, I know it, I do what is appropriate, you just do your work. The moment we try to rationalize, that is where crisis of faith occurs.
The department has achieved so much in the last 20 years. In say in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, how do you see the road ahead for this department?
Well, that's a wonderful question. When I came here, this CCU was closed. I can say it with matter of pride that it's my baby. We opened it and started off with 1 bed. Today we have fully equipped 15, fully equipped. With any bed I can connect a ventilator, I have a monitor for every bed. Nice 15 bedded CCU. We worked for it and brought it up to this level. Of course, all was possible because of Bhagwan's grace, but then that is how was the attitude with which we entered. We took it as if it's our personal belonging. It's like my own private hospital, I am doing it. That. 2, from the point of view of availability of equipments and instruments, Bhagavan was kind enough to give us the best, whether it was our echocardiographic machine or the cath lab or any of the equipments and instruments used, there was no dearth of it. As regards work, well, there is no dearth of work. I would still feel that if I had more number of hands, the quantum of work can be more. 3. 2, about the spectrum of work, yes, I think we have one of the most enviable records. You can compare it with the best of the teaching institutions anywhere in the country, we have it. 5. 1994, the teaching program of the postdoctoral training program in cardiology was started here. I was then selected as the first candidate for it. I underwent the training, requisite training, appeared for the exam, passed it. I was given a choice that now that I have passed, I can leave and go elsewhere for greener pastures. I stuck to this more greener pasture and I am continuing till date. I have no regrets. So, like me, following me, many students have come, they have been trained, they have passed, they have gone out. Wherever they have gone out, they have established their mettle as some of the topmost cardiologists of their area or their region. But I still feel a lot more needs to be done. For a place like this district, where Bhagavan really established, if you ask me, the greatest miracle of Bhagavan is establishing such a great institution in this backward district. But in fact, I had submitted a personal prayer to Bhagavan on at least 2 or 3 occasions that this place needs this, but more than that, it needs a medical college with all the basic departments and a medical college hospital. That would be the greatest boon to this district in furtherance of what Swami has done as long as he was in his physical form. And I feel that would be my only prayer to the trustees, that this is something, I am not saying start it today or tomorrow, as and when logistically it permits, we should start that, because that will be a perpetual legacy which will go on. And I am telling you this, if once you put it in this radius of 150 kilometers, you do not have any other institution catering this kind of care and services in this fashion. You have governmental setups, but then they have their own problems. Either staffing won't be there, equipments are there, equipments won't be working, or if they have to be provided, that comes at a price. Here, nothing, no need to ask any question. So, this kind of a setup, it's like, if you may say, it's a personal dream, that what would be a future direction would be that. From the point of view of work, yes, there is no ceiling on where you can stop your work. As I said, if I have more beds, I have more staff, more equipments, more work we can do.
Finally, may I ask you, what is it that drives you every morning to come to the hospital when you wake up?
At the end of every day, the satisfied look on the face of many of the patients whom we end up treating and discharging happily to go home. I think that is the strongest elixir which you get, number one. Number two, particularly in this country, anywhere else, I have the skill, I have the knowledge, but in order to give it to a patient, many times I am forced to look into the pocket of the patient. This is the only place in this country where I need not do that. If it pertains to my discipline, if it is being offered in this hospital, I can offer one and all. I think that is such a big comfort, such a big comfort. No distinction of any form, caste, creed, color, religion, nationality, you name it. Think that. Since you asked this question, there was a Muslim patient from Kerala, came with his daughter. She had what is called a narrowing of one of her heart valves, and I was the one who took her to the cath lab and opened it with a balloon. This man was, apparently he had shopped around all over Kerala, and everywhere he was given anywhere a budget between those days, I am talking 50,000 to 75,000 rupees, which he couldn't afford. So the next day, the patient, the girl got admitted today, I did the procedure tomorrow, day after tomorrow we are discharging her, which this man could have never dreamt, having not paid a single pi anywhere from entrance to the hospital till that point in time. So when it came to discharge, since I can talk Malayalam, I had to advise regarding what medication she has to be on and other things. And then I said, now you can go home, don't worry. This man broke down. And he came to me and offered me a 20 rupee note. He said, this is don't take it as otherwise, it's out of my happiness I am giving. Please buy some sweets for your children and give it. It is my way of thanking you. So I said, you please keep that money, this is not for that. Get some good food for her when you get discharged and take her out. No, but something I should do for you. I said, fine. When you reach home, every day when you offer your namaz, you include me in that prayer. That's enough. See, these kind of experiences, where will you get anywhere else? This, as I am giving you snippets, but what each such incident leaves some kind of a positive memory in your brain. And that is where I can say over the years we have worked, we never bothered about arrival time in the hospital or going home time from the hospital. And in fact, just out of a joke, when I joined here, I was the first senior resident to join this hospital, this department actually. Within half an hour of my taking charge of my residential quarters, two people went and they installed the intercom. My wife was thrilled. See, what a great thing, within half an hour of joining, intercom has been installed. Poor lady, she didn't know that 24/7, 365 days I am to be on call. She didn't realize that. She thought, because phone at that time was a status symbol, no? So I said, you will know why it has been kept in the next few days. So the umpteen number of nights, it may be 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, some emergency or call, you come, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, you go home, have a quick wash, again you are back. But never did you have that feeling, oh, I have worked overtime, because that was the kind of, the drive was that, okay, this is Swami's work. Such a kind of work is not taking place anywhere else. That was the drive. There was no financial incentives or no awards or gold medals or certificates, nothing of that sort. No Padma Vibhushans, nothing. Maybe not even a personal interview from Swami. But just that philosophy which only Bhagavan dared put it in action. There are many people who deliver lectures and talk. When Bhagavan spoke of this hospital in 1990, I remember many people had made fun. They said, okay, let us see how it's possible in 1 year, number one. Number two, even if it is possible, let us see how will it sustain. He has proved 2 decades of existence. I think the institute definitely has overgrown its what you call pediatric pangs, and slowly it's entering into its adolescence. Because this, he said, it's his own statement, he said it's going to exist for 1,000 years. So even adolescence is not yet reached. But these 20 years overall, if you see, I think one should not have any regrets. People will say, oh, more can be done. There is no ceiling on how much can be done. But whatever has been done, you show me one other institution in this country which has done to this magnitude. You show that and I will quit. None have them. Healthcare was put as a welfare program. Where is this kind of care provided to the poor people? As I told, that there is one dream, and that one dream is that we should have a medical college and a medical college hospital to come up anytime in the near or at least in the intermediate future. If you ask if I have any personal concluding message, only one prayer. As long as we are here, Bhagavan should give us the strength, stability of mind, and the one-pointed dedication and devotion to carry on his mission. And as somebody said, days of the Europe, people used to go all the way to Varanasi for breathing their last. Here I say, if any one of us have a prayer, while on your work field, you should depart and go off. There can't be anything greater than that. That is the only prayer. Jai Sai Ram.